I've been stuck in this toxic romance novel for 3 years now. My system told me that as soon as the male lead's affection meter hits 100%, I can finally go home. To make that happen, I spent 3 years pretending to be his perfect doormat. Then one day, the system gave me a new mission: to catch him cheating. It claimed it was a game for couples to deepen their bond. Host, he's letting you find him with his white moonlight at the hotel. He's trying to provoke you, to make you jealous. Men love when women fight for them. Quick. Go in there, make a scene. If you play along, his affection will skyrocket. Trust me, he's waiting for you to burst in. He wants to see that you care. Fueled by adrenaline and foolish hope, I pushed open the hotel room door. But instead of affection points, I got a freezing glare and a wad of cash tossed in my face. Trying to get my attention with these pathetic stunts again? Blake sneered. Take the money and get lost. Don't bother me. Security dragged me out of the room. I ended up outside in the pouring rain, humiliated and trembling. I wiped at my tears, my voice shaking. I'm so stupid. Falling for this idiotic system again. The rain came down harder, soaking through my thin dress. I crouched by the hotel entrance, hugging my knees like a stray dog abandoned by its owner. I wanted to leave, to run far away, but the system screamed in my head. You can't leave, host. This is the crucial moment for him to test your sincerity. He was just angry. When he comes out and sees you waiting for him in the rain, he'll be touched. His anger will turn into love. Haven't you read any classic romances? It's love in the rain, the kind that seals your destiny. I lifted my head. The sky was dark and merciless, rain falling like broken glass. My lips were turning purple, my teeth chattering uncontrollably. I'm so cold. Perfect. The colder and more miserable you look, the more he'll ache for you. Trust me, he's restless in that room right now, thinking of you. I wanted to believe it. I needed to believe it. Going home depended on it. So I stayed there, shivering under the eaves, watching luxury cars come and go. Couples passed by under shared umbrellas, laughing softly. Not one of them looked at me. Minutes blurred into hours. My body grew weak, shifting from cold to burning heat. Hold on, host. Every minute you wait adds to his guilt. When he finds you sick and collapsed because of him, his affection will soar. The voice buzzed in my head until even that began to fade. My body slid down against the cold wall, my vision dimming. Through the haze, I thought I saw Blake running toward me, his face filled with worry. I imagined his coat around my shoulders, his arms pulling me close. But that was only a dream. When I opened my eyes again, dawn had broken and the rain had slowed to a drizzle. The hotel doors slid open. Blake stepped out, neatly dressed, freshly groomed. He looked radiant, as if he'd slept soundly all night. Beside him, wearing a thin dress, was his so-called white moonlight, Serena, his idealized first love. My heart sank like a stone. Blake's gaze brushed over me without stopping. He even frowned, as if my existence offended him. Blake, it's a bit cold, Serena murmured. Without hesitation, he took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Then he guided her to the waiting car and drove away. He never looked back. The car splashed through a puddle, drenching me in muddy water. That was the last thing I felt before losing consciousness. When I woke again, I was in a hospital bed. A kind stranger had found me and brought me in. The doctor said I'd caught a severe fever and nearly developed pneumonia. I stared at the ceiling, pale and hollow. The system was finally silent. When I opened the system panel, the affection meter in the corner still read 5%. After 3 years, it had never once moved. That night, drifting in and out of fevered dreams, I saw home. My mom's apple pie, warm mashed potatoes, my little bed. I woke up crying, my pillow damp with tears. Then, the system chimed again. Host, I'm so sorry. I underestimated how well he hides his emotions. He only acted cold because Serena was there. I detected that he tossed and turned all night, unable to rest. I didn't respond. I just stared at the wall, numb. But don't worry. This still proved your sincerity. We'll try another strategy next time. Another strategy? What could that even be? Other than becoming an even more obedient dog? After being discharged, I went back to the villa. Blake was in the living room, smiling tenderly at his phone. He was on a video call with Serena. When he saw me come in, he didn't even pause the call. He just lifted his chin slightly and said, "Since you have so much free time, Find something useful to do. Starting tomorrow, make lunch for Serena every day and deliver to her office yourself. On the screen, Serena let out a delicate laugh. Blake, don't be like that. It's too much trouble for Cassidy. Blake smirked, his tone dripping with mockery. She's not doing anything anyway. It's an honor for her to serve you. My hands clenched at my sides, nails digging into my palms. The system, however, was practically squealing in excitement. Host. Incredible. He's asking you to deliver food to his white moonlight. Do you realize what this means? Appearing in front of Serena every day is your chance to declare your presence. You're showing everyone that the only one who lovingly prepares meals for Blake's woman is you, Cassidy. What could I do? I nodded and accepted. The next morning, I received Serena's menu. It had just one item: mango mousse. My heart sank. The system asked, confused, "What's wrong, host?" That's so easy. My voice came out hoarse. I'm allergic to mangoes. It wasn't mild either. Even the scent of the fruit could trigger my reaction: itching skin, blocked throat, sometimes even anaphylaxis. The system paused for a moment, then practically screamed with joy. Perfect. This is a heaven-sent opportunity. You're willing to risk an allergic reaction to make cake for his woman. That's true devotion. Imagine how much it'll move him when he finds out. This is better than delivering 100 lunches. So, I put on double gloves and a mask and entered the kitchen. But even with that, the sweet scent of mango clung to the air. My skin began to burn, my throat tightened, and every breath came with a cough. Still, I kept going. I diced the mango, whipped the cream, layered the crust, and completed the mousse with trembling hands. Then, I carried the box to Serena's company. It was an upscale fashion firm, all glass and gold. My simple clothes looked painfully out of place against the backdrop of luxury. The receptionist gave me a cold, judgmental once-over. I could hear employees whispering as I walked by. When I entered Serena's office, Blake was already there. He always was. I set the box down on the table. Serena didn't even look at me. She opened it, exclaiming in a practiced tone, "Wow, it's beautiful. Cassidy, you're so talented." But she didn't eat it. She scooped up a big bite with her fork, then let it fall back onto the plate. Blake's expression darkened instantly. He turned to me, his eyes cold with disgust. "Cassidy, what kind of garbage is this? You can't even make a simple dessert?" He glanced at me again, taking in my flushed skin and hoarse breathing. "And what's wrong with your face? You look disgusting. Don't stand there coughing and ruining Serena's appetite." Each word cut like glass. Serena smiled then, content. "Blake, don't be so mean. I just lost my appetite, that's all. But Cassidy worked so hard. Let's not waste it." She bent down and offered the spoon to the tiny Pomeranian at her feet. "Pippin, sweetheart, try this. That Andy made it just for you." I froze. The dog wagged its tail and eagerly licked the mousse I had nearly poisoned myself to make. Pippin's such a good boy." Serena cooed, stroking its head as if nothing about this was cruel. I turned to Blake, eyes trembling, silently begging for him to say something, anything. He didn't. He just leaned lazily on the couch, eyes full of warmth, but all for Serena. "As long as you're happy," he said softly. Laughter rippled through the room. The system's voice screamed in my mind. "Did you see that, host? He yelled at you. In front of his white moonlight. This is called reverse favoritism. He's pretending to scold you to lower Serena's guard. Deep down, he's bleeding for you. He called you disgusting, but that's just his way of hiding how much he cares. Men are so contradictory." My voice shook. They fed the cake I made to a dog. That's not the point. Serena was happy. Didn't you hear what he said? As long as you're happy? That's key. It means making Serena happy, makes him happy. And if he's happy, his affection for you will skyrocket. This is a shortcut straight to his heart. Pleasing Serena is the same as pleasing him. I stood there, speechless. Blake's brows furrowed as he noticed my silence. "Why are you still here?" he snapped. "Waiting for someone to laugh you to death." I stood up numbly and walked out of the office. I don't even remember how I got out of that building. On the way back, my body felt like it didn't belong to me. My arms itched so badly I clawed at them until I left bloody scratches, but the burning wouldn't stop. When I passed a mirror, I barely recognized myself. Red rashes covered my face and neck. I looked exactly as he'd said. Disgusting. His words echoed in my head, along with the memory of his gentle kiss to Serena, her smug smile, and the image of that tiny dog eating the dessert I'd made through tears and pain. Outside, the sky darkened. Rain began to fall again, heavy and unrelenting. The sound swallowed my quiet sobs, drowning them until only the storm could hear me. On my system panel, the affection meter stayed fixed at 5%. It hadn't moved, not even after everything. Days blurred together, filled with silence and humiliation. Then came a day that meant everything to me, the anniversary of my grandmother's death. It was also the day I'd been pulled into this world. My grandmother had been my only family. When she passed, I was left completely alone. Then the system appeared and threw me into this nightmare. The only thing I brought with me was her simple wooden hairpin. For 3 years, it was the only thing that kept me grounded. Every year on this day, I'd take it out, talk to it softly, and pretend she was still beside me. But this year, even that small comfort was taken away. Blake decided to host a lavish birthday party for Serena. He wanted to include a treasure hunt game at the villa and ordered the butler to gather every interesting item in the house as prizes. Then his gaze fell on the small wooden box beside my bed. He picked it up, opened it, and pulled out the hairpin. Turning it in his fingers, he sneered. "What's this? A piece of scrap wood?" I rushed forward, panicked. "Give it back. That's my grandmother's keepsake." Blake froze, surprised by the sharpness in my voice. For a moment, I thought he might relent, but then his expression hardened. It was the first time in 3 years I had dared raise my voice at him. Feeling his authority challenged, he shoved me down and pinched the hairpin between his fingers. "A keepsake, huh? Perfect. Since it's so precious, let's make it interesting." His voice was calm, almost amused. "I announced that whoever finds this hairpin first at the party will receive one wish from me." "No." I scrambled up, my knees hitting the marble floor. "Please, you can't do this." Tears fell freely, but he didn't even glance at me. He turned to his assistant, ready to hand the hairpin over. That small piece of wood was all I had left of the woman who'd raised me. And now, it was being reduced to a toy for his guests, a prop in their shallow games. Something inside me broke. The system's voice buzzed wildly in my head. "Host, this is perfect. You'll get to mingle with his elite circle. It's just a hairpin. Trading it for a chance to get closer to him is a bargain. Hurry, agree before he changes his mind." I didn't listen this time. I stood up, trembling, my vision blurring with rage. As Blake turned to hand the hairpin away, I slapped him. Smack. The sound cracked through the air like thunder. The entire room went still. Blake's head snapped to the side, a vivid handprint blooming across his cheek. He'd been pampered his whole life, adored by everyone, never once defied. This was the first time anyone had dared touch him. He turned back toward me slowly, eyes wide with disbelief. "Cassidy," he said in a low, dangerous voice, "you dare hit me?" Before I could move, his hand shot out and clamped around my throat. He slammed me against the wall. "I guess I've been too lenient with you." My vision swam. The pressure on my neck made it impossible to breathe. My hands clawed at his wrist, but he only tightened his grip. Stars exploded behind my eyes. The system began to shriek in my mind. "Alert! Alert! S-class violation. Host has attacked the core capture target. Termination sequence initiated." I closed my eyes. Finally. 3 years of this hell. I was ready for it to end. Whether by death or deletion, anything was better than staying here. But the pain never came. Instead, a new tone chimed in, clear and mechanical.
Ding.
Detecting extreme emotional fluctuation in capture target. Congratulations, host. You've successfully triggered a hidden core storyline, chasing wife to the cremation grounds. Blake's affection plus 20%. Current affection level, 25%. Blake's hand remained locked around my throat, but something had changed. His grip wavered, not loosening but trembling. The rage in his eyes flickered like a candle in wind, replaced by something I'd never seen before. Confusion. "You," his voice came out hoarse. "You actually dared to." My lungs screamed for air. Black spots danced at the edges of my vision. But instead of fear, I felt something else rising in my chest. Relief. Let him kill me. Let this nightmare end. The system's voice shrieked in panic, distorted and crackling. "Alert! Alert! S-class violation. Host has attacked core capture target. Termination sequence." Then it cut off abruptly, replaced by a different tone entirely. Smooth. Clinical. Almost pleased?
Ding.
Detecting extreme emotional fluctuation in capture target. Congratulations, host. You've successfully triggered hidden storyline, chasing wife to the cremation grounds. Blake's affection plus 20%. Current affection level, 25%. The pressure on my throat suddenly vanished. I collapsed against the wall, gasping and coughing. My hand flew to my neck. Already I could feel the bruises forming. Blake stumbled backward, staring at his own hands as if they'd betrayed him. The red handprint I'd left on his cheek stood out starkly against his pale skin. He looked at me, then at his hands, then back at me. Cassidy, I didn't mean to. Didn't mean to what? My voice came out raw, each word scraping against my damaged throat. Choke me? Or finally show me what you really think of me. I pushed myself upright, my legs shaking but holding. For 3 years, I'd made myself small in his presence.
Soft.
Unthreatening. The perfect doormat. Not anymore. You know what the funny thing is? I laughed, and it sounded broken even to my own ears. I actually believed it. I believed that if I just tried hard enough, degraded myself enough, loved you enough, you'd eventually see me. Blake's expression flickered. Was that guilt? Blake's affection plus 5%. Current affection level, 30%. But I was never going to win, was I? I continued, my voice growing stronger. Because you don't want a person. You want a ghost. Someone who exists only to worship you from the shadows while you live your life with her. That's not. Blake started, but I cut him off. Give me back my grandmother's hairpin. He blinked, seeming to remember he was still holding it. His fingers tightened around the simple wooden hairpin, and for a moment, I thought he'd refuse. This. He held it up, and I hated the way his thumb rubbed against the worn wood. This is what you're so upset about. It's just. If you say, just a piece of wood, I will slap you again. The threat hung in the air between us. Blake's eyes widened, and I saw it, a flash of something that looked almost like excitement. Blake's affection plus 3%. Current affection level, 33%. What the hell? The system chimed again, and this time its voice was different. Less frantic, more analytical. Host, it appears previous behavioral algorithms were operating under flawed parameters. The target responds positively to displays of independence and... Shut up, I muttered. What? Blake asked. Not you. I held out my hand. The hairpin. Now. Blake's jaw tightened. For a moment, we stood in a silent standoff. Then slowly, he placed the hairpin in my palm. Our fingers brushed. He didn't pull away. Cassidy, he said quietly. I don't understand what's happening right now. I closed my fist around the hairpin, feeling its familiar weight. That makes 2 of us. I turned toward the door. Where are you going? His voice cracked slightly on the last word. Away. I didn't look back. From you. From this house. From all of this. You can't just leave. Watch me. I made it 3 steps before he grabbed my wrist. Not painful this time, but firm. Cassidy, wait. I spun around, and whatever he saw in my face made him release me immediately. For 3 years, I said softly. I waited. I waited in the rain until I nearly died. I poisoned myself making desserts for your mistress. I swallowed every insult, every humiliation, every moment you looked through me like I was nothing. My voice didn't rise. I didn't cry. I simply stated facts. And, you know what? I'm done waiting. Blake's throat worked as he swallowed. I didn't know. That's the problem, Blake. You didn't know because you never bothered to look. I walked away, and this time, he didn't stop me. But as I climbed the stairs to my room, I still needed to pack my things. I heard something shatter below. Then another crash. And another. Blake Morrison, the man who prided himself on perfect control, was destroying his own living room. Blake's affection plus 7%. Current affection level, 40%. I paused on the landing, staring at the system notification. 40%. 3 years of devotion. 5%. 1 slap and walking away. 40%. You've been sabotaging me from the start, haven't it? I whispered. The system's response was delayed.
Guilty.
Previous strategy was based on standard romance novel capture mechanics. This route was unexpected. You kept me trapped.
Desperate.
thinking I was one act of submission away from going home. The data suggested. The data was wrong. I continued up the stairs. And now we're doing this my way. My room, I couldn't call it our room since Blake had never spent a single night here, was exactly as I'd left it. Plain white walls. A small bed with simple sheets. A dresser with clothes I'd brought from my own world, now worn and faded. 3 years, and I'd never bothered to decorate. Why would I? This was never meant to be permanent. I pulled out the battered suitcase from under the bed and started packing. I didn't have much. A few changes of clothes. Some books. The wooden box that held my grandmother's hairpin, now safely returned. Host, if I may suggest.
No.
But you haven't heard. I don't care what you have to say. I folded a sweater with sharp, angry movements. You lied to me for 3 years. Why should I trust you now? Because we want the same thing. For you to go home. I froze, my hands tightening on the fabric. Do we? Or do you just want me to complete your sick game? I am programmed to help you achieve 100% affection rating so you may return home. That has not changed. What changed is the method. I threw the sweater in the suitcase. You told me to be a doormat. Turns out he prefers a challenge. The data is still being analyzed. This route has never been documented before.
Good.
I'll be your guinea pig then. I zipped up the suitcase and grabbed my phone from the nightstand. At least now I'm doing it on my own terms. As if on cue, the phone buzzed. Blake, we need to talk. I stared at the message. 3 years, and he never texted me first. Any communication had always been orders delivered through the butler or terse commands when I was in his presence. Another buzz. Blake, please. My thumb hovered over the screen. The old me would have run downstairs immediately, grateful for even this scrap of attention. The new me? I turned off my phone and slipped it into my pocket. Let him wait. Blake's affection plus 2%. Current affection level, 42%. Interesting. Delayed response creates anticipation. Noted. Stop analyzing everything like it's data. I grab my suitcase. These are people's lives. You are technically a person trapped in a novel. The other characters are fictional constructs. They don't feel fictional. I thought of Blake's confusion, the genuine shock when I'd slapped him. He seems pretty real to me. That is by design. The world adapts to create maximum narrative coherence. I didn't respond. There was something deeply disturbing about the system's clinical dissection of what felt like my reality. Downstairs, I could hear voices. The butler, probably, asking Blake what happened. The crash of more breaking objects. I took the servant staircase, a route I'd learned well over 3 years of trying to stay out of Blake's way, and slipped out through the kitchen. The night air hit me like a slap.
Cool.
Crisp.
Free.
I had no plan. No money except the emergency cash I'd hidden in my suitcase. No friends. I'd never been allowed to make any. But I had something more valuable. My dignity, finally clawed back from the edge of oblivion. Behind me, the Morrison estate loomed like a beautiful prison. Lights blazed in the windows. I could see Blake's silhouette in the living room, pacing like a caged animal. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. And again. And again. I didn't check it. Instead, I walked to the gate, where the night guard, an older man who'd always been kind to me, looked up in surprise. Miss Cassidy? Are you going out this late? I'm leaving, Marcus. His eyes widened. Leaving? Does Mr. Morrison know? He does now. Marcus glanced back at the house, then at my suitcase, then at my face. Whatever he saw there made him nod slowly. There's a bus stop about a mile down the road, he said quietly. Last bus comes through at midnight. Thank you. I meant it. He opened the pedestrian gate. As I stepped through, he called out, Miss Cassidy? I turned. You deserve better than this. My throat tightened. In 3 years, no one had said anything like that to me. Thank you, Marcus. I walked into the night, each step feeling lighter than the last. Blake's affection plus 3%. Current affection level, 45%. Warning, target is attempting to contact host. 16 missed calls. 23 text messages. Let him wait, I murmured. The road was dark, lit only by occasional street lamps. My suitcase wheels clattered against the pavement. In the distance, I could hear the city, car horns, music, life. For 3 years, I'd been isolated in that mansion, my entire world reduced to Blake's moods and the system's manipulations. Now, Walking alone down a dark road with nothing but a suitcase and my grandmother's hairpin, I felt more alive than I had in years. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Finally, I pulled it out. 53 notifications. All from Blake. Blake. Where are you? Blake. Cassidy, this isn't funny. Blake, answer your phone. Blake. Cassidy. Blake. Please just tell me you're safe. That last one made me pause. There was something different about it. Less commanding, more desperate. Blake's affection, 47%. Warning, target emotional state is deteriorating rapidly. Good, I said aloud. Let him feel a fraction of what I felt. But even as I said it, a small part of me, the part that had spent 3 years caring about his well-being above my own, felt a twinge of guilt. I crushed it ruthlessly. He'd watched me wait in the rain until I collapsed. He'd let Serena feed my cooking to her dog. He'd thrown money in my face and called me disgusting. One night of worry wouldn't kill him. The bus stop appeared ahead, a small shelter with a flickering fluorescent light. I checked my phone for the time, 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until freedom. I sat down on the cold metal bench and finally let myself feel it. The exhaustion, the fear, the grief for 3 years of my life I'd never get back. But also hope.
My phone rang.
Blake's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring, and ring, and ring. When it finally stopped, a new message appeared. Blake, I'm sorry. 2 words I'd waited 3 years to hear. And now that I'd finally heard them, I felt nothing. No joy. No relief. Just a hollow ache where my love for him used to be. I typed back. Me too little too late. Then I blocked his number. Blake's affection plus 8%. Current affection level, 55%. Alert. Critical threshold reached. Target is now in active chase phase. Recommended action. Maintain distance while creating opportunities for. I said shut up. The system went quiet. In the distance, I saw headlights. The bus right on time. But then I saw something else, another set of headlights moving fast. Too fast. A black car screeched to a halt in front of the bus stop. The driver's door flew open, and Blake stumbled out. He looked like hell. His perfectly styled hair was a mess, as if he'd been running his hands through it repeatedly. His shirt was untucked, partially unbuttoned. There was a wild look in his eyes I'd never seen before. Cassidy. He said my name like a prayer. Or a curse. Thank God. I stood up slowly, keeping the bench between us. How did you find me? I tracked your phone. He took a step forward. Are you insane? Walking alone at night? Do you have any idea how dangerous? More dangerous than being choked in my own home. I cut him off. I'll take my chances. Blake flinched, as if I'd slapped him again. His hand unconsciously went to his throat, mirroring where his hands had been on mine. I didn't mean, he stopped, swallowed hard. There's no excuse for what I did. I know that. Congratulations. You've discovered basic human decency. His jaw tightened. I could see him fighting to maintain control, that carefully crafted persona cracking at the edges. Get in the car, he said. Please.
No.
Cassidy. I'm waiting for the bus. To go where? His voice rose slightly. You have no money, no. I have enough. It was a lie, but he didn't need to know that. Blake's eyes swept over me, my single suitcase, my worn coat, my carefully blank expression. Whatever he saw made something in his face crack. Don't do this, he said quietly. Come back to the house. We'll talk. Really talk. I promise. Your promises don't mean much to me. Then what do I have to do? The question came out raw. Tell me what you want. Anything. I looked at him, really looked at him. Blake Morrison, the man I'd spent 3 years worshipping like a god. Now he stood before me, disheveled and desperate, and I felt nothing. No, that wasn't quite true. I felt tired. I want to go home, I said simply. My real home. Not your house. Not this world. Home. Confusion crossed his face. What are you talking about?
Right.
He didn't know. Couldn't know. To him, I was just Cassidy, the girl who'd inexplicably attached herself to him 3 years ago. He didn't know I was trapped here. That every moment with him was a cage. Host, revealing your nature would violate. I'm not revealing anything, I muttered. He can't understand anyway. Cassidy, you're not making sense. Blake took another step closer. Just come back. We'll figure this out. There's nothing to figure out. The bus was approaching now, its headlights cutting through the darkness. I'm leaving. You should too. I can't. The words burst out of him. I can't just let you go. Why not? You've barely acknowledged my existence for 3 years. It should be easy. Because he stopped, struggling with words. Blake Morrison, always so eloquent, couldn't finish a sentence. Because I don't want you to go. Blake's affection plus 5%. Current affection level, 60%. The bus pulled up with a screech of brakes. The door opened with a hiss. Last bus to the city, the driver called out. I grabbed my suitcase and walked toward the bus. Blake's hand shot out, catching my arm. Please. His voice cracked. Cassidy, please. I know I don't deserve it, but please just stay. Let me make this right. I looked down at his hand on my arm. His grip was gentle this time. Almost pleading. 3 years ago, this moment would have meant everything. Blake Morrison, begging me to stay. Now, it just felt hollow. You can't make this right, I said softly. Some things are too broken to fix. I pulled away and climbed onto the bus. Through the window, I watched Blake stand there, frozen. The bus driver looked at him, then at me. That your boyfriend? She asked.
No.
You sure? He looks pretty torn up. I glanced back. Blake had his hand pressed against the bus, his eyes locked on mine through the glass. There was something in his expression I'd never seen before, genuine anguish. Blake's affection, 65%. Warning, target experiencing severe emotional distress. I'm sure, I said, even as something in my chest tightened. The bus driver shrugged and closed the door. As we pulled away, I watched Blake grow smaller in the distance. He stood there in the road, not moving, until we turned a corner, and he disappeared from view. Only then did I let out the breath I'd been holding. You okay, honey? The bus driver asked.
Was I?
I just walked away from 3 years of my life. From a man who'd tormented me, but now seemed desperate to keep me. From the only plan I'd had for getting home. I don't know, I admitted. She nodded sagely. That's honest at least. Where you headed? Good question. I pulled out my phone. Blake had tried calling 20 more times in the past 5 minutes, and searched for cheap hotels in the city. Downtown, I said. Anywhere downtown. As the bus merged onto the highway, my phone buzzed one more time. But it wasn't Blake. It was a bank notification. $500,000 deposited into your account. From Blake Morrison. Message. Please don't disappear. I'll give you space, but please stay safe. I stared at the screen in disbelief. $500,000.
Just like that.
Blake's affection plus 3%. Current affection level, 68%. Analysis. Target is attempting to ensure host safety through financial means. This suggests he values hosts' well-being over pride or control. The bus driver glanced at my expression. Bad news. No, I said slowly, watching the city lights grow brighter on the horizon. Just complicated. That was an understatement. The hotel room was small but clean. A far cry from the mansion, but it was mine. I'd chosen it. Paid for it myself. Well, technically with Blake's money, but I was trying not to think about that part. I collapsed onto the bed and stared at the ceiling. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Not with calls, I'd blocked Blake's number, but with messages coming through other channels. Email, Instagram, even LinkedIn for God's sake. Email from Blake Morrison. Please just let me know you're safe. Instagram DM. Cassidy, I can't sleep. I need to know you're okay. LinkedIn. This is probably inappropriate, but I don't know how else to reach you. The messages were all variations on the same theme. Worry, desperation, apologies. It was surreal. For 3 years, I would have killed for this kind of attention. Now it just felt exhausting. Blake's affection has stabilized at 68%. Emotional state, obsessive concern. Host, you've successfully entered the he realizes what he lost arc. This is optimal positioning for system. I interrupted. Why did you lie to me? Silence. 3 years. 3 years you told me to degrade myself, to be more obedient, more understanding. You knew that wasn't working. So why? I don't have a satisfactory answer. Try. More silence. Then. My programming is based on analyzing romance novel tropes and calculating optimal paths to achieve maximum affection. The data suggested that in 87% of romance novels, devoted female leads eventually win over cold male leads through persistence and sacrifice. But this isn't 87% of romance novels. This is one specific novel.
Yes.
And this novel appears to operate on different mechanics than standard romance formulas. I didn't realize until you deviated from the programmed path. I sat up, hugging my knees. So, you were guessing. Just guessing, and letting me suffer, because your algorithm said it should work. I am sorry. That is not a programmed response. But I believe it's appropriate. A system apologizing. That was new. What happens now? I asked. To me.
To him.
To this whole situation. Unknown. We're in uncharted territory. But Blake's affection is rising faster than any model predicted. At this rate, you could reach 100% within weeks rather than years. And then I go home. Yes. I should have felt relieved. Happy even. After 3 years, the end was finally in sight. So, why did I feel so hollow? A knock on the door made me jump. I checked the peephole. A hotel employee stood there with an enormous bouquet of white roses. Delivery for Cassidy Chun, she called out. I opened the door and signed for it, too tired to refuse. The card read,
I'm sorry.
I know these are your favorite.
B.
I stared at the flowers in confusion. White roses. I'd never told Blake my favorite flowers. How could I, when he'd never asked? Then I noticed something tucked in the bouquet. A small envelope. Inside was a photograph, creased and faded, clearly old. It showed a younger me, maybe 17, standing in a garden and smiling at a bush of white roses. I'd taken this photo in my world. Before the system. Before Blake. Before any of this. How did he have this? My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and unblocked Blake's number. He answered on the first ring. Cassidy. How did you get this photo? I demanded. What? The roses? The photograph. In the bouquet. How did you get it? Confusion in his voice. I didn't put anything in the bouquet. I just told them to send white roses because he paused. Because I remembered. From that charity gala 2 years ago. There were flower arrangements, and you stopped to look at the white roses. You didn't think I noticed, but I did. You smiled at them like they meant something. I couldn't breathe. 2 years ago. A moment I didn't even remember. I'd been invisible to him, or so I thought. But he'd noticed. He'd remembered. Blake, there's a photograph in the flowers. An old one from before. I caught myself. From a long time ago. I didn't send a photograph. Maybe the florist made a mistake. I looked at the photo again, then at the bouquet. Hidden beneath the roses was a small card I'd missed before, written in different handwriting. A gift from someone who wants to see you win.
Keep fighting. M.
M? Cassidy? Are you still there? Yeah, I set the photo down carefully. Thank you. For the flowers. I can send more. Different ones. Whatever you want. Blake, you can't fix this with gifts. I know. He sounded exhausted. But I don't know what else to do. How do I fix this? Tell me and I'll do it. You can't, I said quietly. Some things can't be fixed. They can only be started over. Then let's start over. The words came fast, desperate. Hi, I'm Blake Morrison. I'm an idiot who didn't appreciate the most genuine person in his life until she was gone. Despite everything, I almost smiled. That's not how it works. Then show me how it works. Please, Cassidy. I'll do anything. Blake's affection plus 4%. Current affection level, 72%. I looked at the white roses, at the mysterious photograph, at the city lights twinkling outside my window. Space, I said finally. I need space. Time to figure out who I am without you. How much time? I don't know. Can I at least know you're safe? That you're okay? I thought about it. The old me would have said yes immediately, eager for any contact. The new me wanted to say no, to cut all ties. But maybe there was a middle ground. 1 message a day, I said. You can send 1 message. I'll respond when I'm ready. 1 message. He sounded like I'd just handed him the world. Okay. Thank you. And Blake. Yes. Stop sending money. I don't want your guilt payments. It's not guilt. His voice softened. I just want you to have options. To be safe. Even if you never speak to me again, I need to know you're okay. Something in my chest twisted. Good night, Blake. Good night, Cassidy. And
I really am sorry.
For everything. I hung up and stared at the roses for a long time. The mysterious photograph sat on the nightstand. I picked it up again, studying it. Who was M? And how did they have a photo from my real world? System, do you know anything about this? Negative. That should not be possible. Items from host's original world cannot physically manifest here. Unless. Unless what? Unless there are other players in this game. Other systems. Other people who don't belong here. The thought sent a chill down my spine. I was so focused on Blake and my escape that I never considered there might be others like me. Other people trapped in this novel's world, playing by rules I didn't understand. My phone buzzed. Blake, sleep well. I hope the roses make you smile, even a little. One message a day. He'd already used it. I looked at the flowers, then at the mysterious photograph, then out at the city that was supposed to represent my freedom. For 3 years, I'd had one goal. Make Blake fall in love with me so I could go home. Now, as his affection climbed higher than I'd ever imagined possible, I was starting to realize something terrifying. I had no idea what home even meant anymore. I woke to sunlight streaming through cheap hotel curtains and 17 missed calls from an unknown number. Not Blake. I'd know that area code anywhere. This was something else. The phone rang again. Against my better judgment, I answered. Finally. The voice was female, cultured, and dripping with venom. I was beginning to think you'd blocked everyone in the city. Serena. I should have known. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Perhaps. But I have plenty to say to you. A pause. Meet me at Café Lumiere in an hour. Or I'll come to your hotel. Your choice. She hung up before I could refuse. Warning, secondary antagonist has initiated contact. Recommended action, ignore and maintain distance. For once, we agree on something, I muttered. But curiosity won out. What could Serena possibly want with me now? I was out of the picture. She'd won. Café Lumiere was exactly the kind of place Serena would choose. Expensive, exclusive, and full of people who judge my worn coat and simple clothes. I almost turned back 3 times. She was already there, of course, seated at the best table. She looked perfect as always, in a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my hotel room. Cassidy. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You look different. I'm not playing your games, Serena. What do you want? She gestured to the seat across from her. After a moment's hesitation, I sat. I want to know, she said, stirring her coffee with deliberate slowness, what you did to Blake. Excuse me? Don't play innocent. 3 years you follow him around like a lost puppy, and he barely notices you exist. Then suddenly, overnight, you're all he can talk about. Her eyes narrowed. What changed? I stared at her. You're asking me what changed? You really don't know? Enlighten me. I stopped caring. Serena's laugh was sharp.
Please.
Nobody just stops caring. I did. I leaned back in my chair, meeting her gaze steadily. I realized that trying to win someone who sees you as nothing but a servant isn't love. It's self-destruction. Something flickered in Serena's expression. Uncertainty? No, it was gone too quickly. He called me 17 times last night, she said. Do you know what he said? Where would someone go if they wanted to disappear? Over and over. The man is obsessed. That's not my problem. Isn't it? You started this. No, I said firmly. He started this the day he chose to treat me like garbage. I just finally stopped accepting it. Serena's perfectly manicured fingers tightened around her coffee cup. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked rattled. You're ruining everything, she said quietly. What am I ruining? You have him. You always have. I was never a threat. That's what I thought too. She laughed bitterly. But now he barely responds to my messages. He canceled our dinner plans 3 times. All he does is stare at his phone, waiting for you to reply to his messages. Blake's affection, 74%. Note, affection for secondary female lead has decreased significantly. I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and guilt. Again, not my problem. You don't understand. Serena leaned forward, and for the first time, I saw past her perfect facade to the desperation underneath. I've waited years for this. Years of being his white moonlight, his perfect first love he could never quite have. Now he's finally free of his family's expectations, finally ready to choose me and you. And I what? Existed? Had feelings? Expected basic human decency. You were never supposed to matter. The words burst out of her, raw and honest. You were supposed to be background noise. The devoted friend-zoned girl who pines away while he and I have our great romance. I stared at her. You think this is a story? That we're all playing roles? Aren't we? She tilted her head. The cold CEO, his white moonlight, the pathetic side character. That's how it's always been. Except I'm not playing anymore. I stood up. And neither should you. This isn't a romance novel, Serena. These are our lives. But even as I said it, I felt the weight of irony. This was literally a romance novel. Just one that had gone off script. Wait. Serena grabbed my wrist as I turned to leave. If you don't want him, make it clear. Tell him definitively that it's over. Let him move on. Why? I pulled my arm free. Scared you'll lose him after all? Her silence was answer enough. I left the cafe, my mind spinning. Serena's desperation had revealed something important. Blake's feelings were changing. Shifting away from his perfect first love and toward what?
Me? No. Not me.
The idea of me. The thing he couldn't have. System. What happens if Blake's affection for me reaches 100%, but I don't feel the same way? You return home. The system measures his affection, not yours. However what? In 99% of cases, host reciprocates by the time the target reaches 100% affection. The journey changes both parties. And the other 1%. Data insufficient. It's never happened before. My phone buzzed. Blake's daily message. Blake, I drove past the White Rose Garden today. The one where we took that photo at the charity gala. I never told you, but that was the first time I really saw you. You looked so peaceful, so genuine.
I should have said something then.
I should have said a lot of things. I stared at the message. He was trying. Really trying. But was it enough? Another message came through, this time from the unknown number that had called earlier, but it wasn't Serena. Unknown. The photo was a gift. A reminder that you existed before this world, and you'll exist after it. Don't let his affection become a new cage. I immediately tried to call back. It went straight to a disconnected tone.
Who was M?
How did they know about the world I came from? And why were they helping me? System. Scan for anomalies. Scanning. No other system users detected within a 50-mile radius. This is highly irregular. I looked at the mysterious message again, then at Blake's heartfelt text. Two forces pulling me in different directions. One toward completing my mission and going home. One toward what? Staying trapped here, even in a gilded cage of Blake's affection? Neither option felt right. I needed answers. And I knew exactly where to start. The city library was quiet on a Tuesday afternoon. I'd come here on a hunch, searching for something I hadn't thought to question in 3 years. If this was a novel, there had to be a novel. I searched the database for Blake Morrison and got hundreds of results, news articles, business journals, society pages. But nothing about a book. Then I tried Toxic Romance CEO and found a whole genre. One title made me freeze, Chasing Moonlight, a Romance. The cover showed a handsome man in a suit and a delicate woman with flowing hair. The back cover blurb made my stomach turn. When devoted Cassidy Chin falls for cold CEO Blake Morrison, she'll stop at nothing to win his heart. But can her unwavering love melt the ice around his heart, or will his true love, the elegant Serena White, claim him forever? A tale of persistence, sacrifice, and the transformative power of unconditional love. I felt sick. This was my life. Reduced to a trashy romance novel blurb. I flipped through the pages with shaking hands. There I was, sweet, devoted Cassidy making lunches, waiting in the rain, accepting every humiliation with a smile. The author wrote it like it was romantic. Noble, even. The novel ended with Cassidy sacrificing her own happiness to bring Blake and Serena together, then quietly disappearing with a bittersweet smile. Some love is about letting go, the final line read. I wanted to throw the book across the library. Terrible ending, isn't it? I spun around. A woman stood behind me, mid-30s, sharp business suit, with eyes that seemed to see right through me. I'm sorry. The ending. She nodded at the book. The author marketed it as romantic sacrifice, but really, it's just about a woman with no self-respect being gaslit into oblivion. The reviews were scathing. I stared at her. You've read this? I wrote it. My heart stopped. The woman pulled out a chair and sat across from me. My name is Monica Zhang, though you probably know me as M. You sent the photograph. I did. She folded her hands on the table. I also wrote this drivel 10 years ago when I was young, broke and thought suffering equaled romance. It was my first novel. My worst novel. And somehow, it's trapped real people inside it. You know, it wasn't a question. You know about the system. About people being pulled into stories? Yes. Monica's expression was grim. You're the third person I've found trapped in one of my novels. The first two. She stopped, pain crossing her face. They didn't make it out. My blood ran cold. What do you mean, didn't make it out? They completed their missions. Hit 100% affection. But the system didn't send them home.
It just reset them.
Wiped their memories and started the story over. An eternal loop. System, is this true? Silence.
System.
Is this true? I am not programmed to discuss. Answer me or I'll find a way to delete myself right now. A long pause. Then, there is a 23% chance of memory reset upon mission completion if certain parameters are not met. 23%. I nearly shouted, then remembered where I was. You've been risking my entire existence on a gamble? Monica leaned forward. What parameters? What keeps the reset from happening? I cannot disclose. Tell her, I growled.
Now.
The host must maintain a sense of self separate from the target's affection. If the host's identity becomes entirely defined by the relationship, the reset occurs to preserve narrative continuity. Monica's jaw tightened. In other words, if you lose yourself completely in trying to make him love you, you get erased and have to do it all over again. Forever. I thought about the past 3 years. How I'd slowly lost every part of myself, my hobbies, my opinions, my backbone, all in service of making Blake notice me. If I'd succeeded back then, if his affection had hit 100% while I was still that broken, hollow version of myself, I would have been reset, I whispered. You were never trying to help me go home. You were trying to trap me here forever. That is not. The parameters are complicated. How do I actually get home? I demanded. The truth this time. 100% affection while maintaining a coherent sense of self separate from the target. You must be loved for who you are, not who you've molded yourself to be for them. Monica nodded slowly. That's why I sent the photograph. A reminder of who you were before Blake. Before this world. But how did you get it? I never. That photo was in my real world. The system pulls data from your memories to make the world coherent. I hacked into the novel's code. Don't ask me how. It took 5 years to figure out and extracted images from your memory file. She pulled out a folder. I have more if you want them. Your grandmother. Your old apartment. Your cat. My eyes burned with tears. You're trying to save me. I'm trying to atone. Monica's voice cracked. I wrote this toxic garbage and somehow it became a prison. The other 2 people I found, I was too late. They were too far gone, too absorbed in their targets. By the time I reached them, there was nothing left of who they used to be. What were their names? It doesn't matter. The system erased them. She pushed the folder toward me. But you're different. You fought back. You walked away. You still know who Cassidy Chun is, separate from Blake Morrison. I opened the folder with shaking hands. There was my grandmother, smiling in her garden. My tiny studio apartment with its mismatched furniture. Mr. Whiskers, my orange tabby cat, sleeping in a sunbeam. I'd almost forgotten these things. Almost let them fade into nothing. What do I do now? I asked. You keep being yourself. Build a life here that has nothing to do with Blake. Make friends.
Get a job.
Find hobbies. Become a full person again. Monica stood up. And when his affection hits 100%, if it hits 100%, you'll be loved for who you actually are. Then you can go home. What if I don't want his affection to hit 100%? The question surprised even me. What if I'd rather stay here as myself than go home after letting him think he knows me? Monica smiled sadly. That's a question only you can answer. But Cassidy, you deserve a choice. That's what I'm trying to give you. Not another cage, even a prettier one. A real choice. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. Blake Morrison isn't real. None of them are. They're characters I created, given artificial life by whatever force powers these story worlds. Don't forget that. After she left, I sat alone with the folder of memories and the novel that had trapped me. The book was still open to the ending, the romantic sacrifice, where Cassidy gave up everything. I picked up a pen from my bag and wrote in the margin. This is not how my story ends. My phone buzzed. Blake's daily message. Blake, I know you said space, but I need you to know something. I went through my old photos. I have 47 pictures with you in them. Not of you, you were always in the background. But you're there. At every event, every gala, every moment I thought I was alone. You were always there, and I never noticed. I'm noticing now. I see you now. Blake's affection. 78%. I looked at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, my first response in days. Me. I'm glad you see me now. But Blake, do you see me? Or, do you see the idea of what you lost? I watched the 3 typing dots appear and disappear. Appear and disappear. Finally. Blake, I don't know. But I want to find out.
Please let me try.
It was the most honest thing he'd ever said to me. Blake's affection. 82%. Warning. Approaching critical threshold. Host, you must decide soon. His affection is rising rapidly. Once it hits 95%, the ending sequence begins. You'll have one final interaction to either accept or reject him. That choice determines everything. I closed my eyes, thinking of my grandmother's garden. My cat. My real life waiting somewhere beyond this fictional world. But also thinking of Blake's desperate voice on the phone. His 17 unanswered calls. The white roses he remembered from 2 years ago. Were any of those feelings real? Could a fictional character actually love? Or was this all just code and narrative, playing out its predetermined patterns? I looked at Monica's folder again. At the girl I used to be, before the system, before Blake, before all of this. Then I made a decision. Okay, you get one chance. But we do this my way. On my terms. And Blake, if you ever make me feel small again, I'm gone. For good this time. Blake, deal. Thank you. God, Cassidy. Thank you. Me. Don't thank me yet. You haven't passed the test. Blake. What test? I smiled, feeling something like my old self returning. Me. You'll see. Blake's affection. 85%. Host has initiated. Redemption arc pathway. Warning. This is an unmapped route. Outcome uncertain. Good. I said aloud, gathering Monica's folder and the terrible novel that had trapped me. I'm tired of certainty. Let's see what uncertain looks like. As I left the library, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. Real, terrifying, beautiful hope. Not for Blake. Not for going home. But for myself. Whatever happened next, I would face it as Cassidy Chun, not as a character in someone else's story, but as a person writing her own ending. Even if that ending was still uncertain. Even if it was messy and complicated and nothing like the novels. It would be mine. And that was enough.